Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS America. We are going to be hopping into our second series as I am joined by Zombie Grub here at the desk. What's up, Zombie Grub?
Should you try and compete with Nate for that? I mean,
I think I can do an okay job. I am literally, did you not see my title? It said the NA Guru, okay?
What does that have to do with your voice being deep?
It doesn't have to do with anything. It's just I think I'm entitled to say America, how I want to say it.
Well, that's true because you're in America, land of freedom. So you're entitled to, because you're free.
We're going to be going into our next series, ladies and gentlemen, as we have an awesome day of StarCraft ahead of us. We are going to be moving into Semper versus Epic, two very different Terran players from Masa. And that's actually one of my favorite things about NA TvT or NA Terrans, is that all of them, I feel like, have a very different feel to them. Masa, very much not afraid to throw out cheese and just weirdness all the time. Semper's that super macro Terran. And then Epic is kind of like that in-between, I feel like, in a lot of ways.
Okay, yeah, I can believe that. I don't watch too much Epic, but enough to know that, oh well, I mean, I know that he's a foreigner Terran, so I'm a fan, there you go. I'm a fan of all Terrans, though, so I don't know why I keep saying foreigner. We're getting into the game. It's going to be on Lost and Found, in the bottom left, as the red Terran, he is Epic.
And spawning up here in the top right, we have our blue Terran player. He is Semper from Rise Esports. Now, I think a lot of people probably know Semper's name a bit better. He's had awesome performances in tournaments like Nation Wars. He's had okay performances at a lot of the WCS events, but yeah, he's definitely one of those more kind of inconsistent players. A lot of people know it's because he's a law student. StarCraft, as much as he loves StarCraft, and he does love StarCraft, it's not his main focus. So kind of comes and goes a lot of the time with his workload.
He certainly stays level enough that that's why you recognize Semper. He's been kind of that level for a long time. Obviously, some iterations of WCS worked out better for his growth, promotion, whatever you want to call it, than others, but he's certainly still a competitor. And Epic seems like his TvT is actually his worst. And while Semper is constantly tested against great Terrans, he does occasionally take games off of them, which, I don't know, I feel like Epic's recent history hasn't been that great.
Yeah, I will also add that I'm a pretty big fan of Semper's TvT, because I think one of the things that Semper's very good at is positional play. He has a really good understanding of where to keep his army, to try and cut off pathways and try and create opportunities or how to pounce on them. And I've seen actually a lot of his games versus players like Future and everything, but I do think that Epic is, he's an interesting one. I don't feel like he's as much about that kind of stuff. He's not really a player that is really, really good at one particular aspect of the game. I think he's actually just a generally very talented overall player.
Solid around.
Yeah, he's a solid all-rounder, but I agree with you that I don't think his TvT is necessarily his best matchup.
Well, there's ways to get around that, if you're not so good when it comes to the Marine tank maxed out positional battles, you get Doom dropped too much, well, you can just be the Doom dropper. You can be the guy that cheeses. So we have a proxy starport. So off of one base, things are already going to be a little more heated for Semper to deal with, to defend, but to actually proxy the starport as well. I mean, you expect the combo, you see they're going for a one base, okay, but then the Liberator pops up 5-10 seconds faster than you expect. That can be a very big deal, especially when you are working off of sometimes very low protection.
Okay, 2 Reapers and a Hellion at the front door over here for Epic, but the Reapers are going to actually just pop into the main base straight away, get a full scout and see, okay, I see that you have no units over here, but also where is your starport?
Yeah, this is a big question mark. You're not really going to have the Terran hide their starport behind the mineral line, and even that, he's scouting. He's getting really deep in here. Using it to Reapers at this point and just suiciding them is not a terrible idea. Their army's back here anyways. You probably have a Cyclone on the way back at home, and it's already done. So it's, 3 SCVs, that's fine, and that decent scouting. Was it really enough, though? Was it like, I mean, you can do that and just not think about seeing tech structures sometimes. You're just thinking about the SCV damage. And this bunker could just be because he knows there are going to be more units for Epic.
That Cyclone is the only unit out right now for Semper, and it's not in position to deal with this Liberator. This Liberator, though, is going to have to be very far forward, so the Marines can actually push this back, but he loses out a lot of mining time in a while. Okay.
If those 3 Hellions, that would have been a disaster.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Hellions still soften up quite a few of these workers, so maybe able to go back in a little bit later on. No, Hellion gets taken care of by the Cyclone.
And now that Liberator will be, quote-unquote, like one-shot by the Cyclone.
Will it, though?
What? Did he cancel? Did we get a range? Okay, well, maybe held position and got the range. Now it's going to die, unless it gets that high ground vision. No, there's no. That's right, it's also found. It doesn't exist. Run, Liberator!
Will it, though?
Very, very close. That's going to be a Banshee follow-up, but Semper is getting a Raven. Unfortunately, that's very long units to build.
But also a Raven, he doesn't really have... Okay, he has got 5 Marines. I guess that's
Yeah, it's
something. Yeah, it's enough.
He also built a second Cyclone, so a combination.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, the second Cyclone, that does seal the deal.
Yep. Now Epic is getting some decent pressure put on. Obviously, he's not the one being attacked, so that's still usually an okay position to be in. TvT's adding on a second barracks already, instead of just swapping that barracks off to a tech lab. Well, actually, he's still going to do that. There you go.
Oh, boy. Okay, Banshee not actually turning around to deal with the Cyclone. It's not going to have Cloak, and he really doesn't want to take that early damage, so just going to have to deal with losing Cloak. That sucks.
Yeah. It's not like the Raven is not useless, though, because of that. I mean, this Raven is still a very useful unit to get, and can still help maybe an auto turret here, if need be. Attack in front. Oh, there's a
All little bits of attacks, and we end up
no repair, no repair.
very low on hit points. The Banshee's going to go down. The Bunker also goes down. And Semper is going to be able to siege up a siege tank, and the Cyclone that was killing off that starport comes back home in defense.
That was a really nice bunker. I mean, initially, you know, the idea of helping against the Hellion Reaper and what could be a Liberator, and it was like, you know, it's okay. But that bought a lot of time. That helps take down a lot of Epic's units at the front. Otherwise, it would have been, I think, a few more awkward SCV kills. He's gonna go back and find the starport not producing and not even bothering to lift and try to go back home.
Even if he tried to lift it now, I think that he'd be able to get it down to burning. That's gonna die.
Yeah, it is gonna die. Bit of an oopsie. Epic goes for 3 engineering bays. I can pretty much guarantee that's not necessary.
The best hope. I need to fly over the cliff and into my opponent's main base. My only chance of survival.
Man, really, StarCraft would be very different if buildings that die, like, killed off on the ground, too. I think there'd be a lot more cool plays, though, with it.
Well, I mean, I would just be in constant fear of my opponent building barracks and just lifting them up, floating them over my mineral line.
Yeah, and then just like, you know, like, what do I kill it? Do I not kill it? Or, I don't know.
Do I just let him continuously scout my base for the entirety of time?
That sounds fine to me, man.
Okay.
No bias at all.
A little bit of a supply block here for Epic.
Yeah, just a little like...
Actually, that's a big one.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of nerves coming down here. His build order's not really being executed. I mean, he went for a build that requires a lot of focus on the front line, so it makes sense that the macro might falter a bit, but I think it also might just be, you know, warming up or whatnot.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. Okay, well, both these players are going to have their +1 upgrades and Stim coming out relatively at the same time. It's a little bit ahead here for Epic. Semper obviously having to deal with a lot of that aggression, was a little bit distracted as well. So his is going to be maybe 20, 30 seconds further behind, but unless Epic decides to go for some kind of big push out, it doesn't seem like it's going to come into effect.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way. Okay, so I thought maybe this time would be a little bit faster, but so be it. They're kind of even on the 3rd CC. We do have a scan trying to, I guess, see if the army's still there.
I think he's just checking for the army, because that's normally where it would be.
Yeah, instead he sees SCVs transferring, so he knows the 3rd CC is being put down location. Scouts the army moving forward. Now, it's going to be without combat shields for now, but he will have a bit of a lead there as he pushes into Semper's 3rd base.
Oh my god, I never realized how fast Cyclones were. It almost outran Stim Marines.
Yeah, if only DTs could do that, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, I mean, we do have an ability called Blink. I can actually outrun them.
You guys almost got an upgrade. You almost got buffed.
Wow.
Outrun some Marines. Well, save it.
Okay. Semper going to be able to push this army back. He's 3 siege tanks to 4 right now, but I think that he should have another one popping out pretty shortly. Should be able to join the fray.
This is just, it's not going to be broken.
Yeah.
Even if he did have combat shields, that's tanks already siege. They're going to get a couple blast offs, so not really worth it. And Semper is just being the defender here.
Whoa, siege tank's a little bit far forward. He's going to start to get one of the focus fire down, but the siege tank's all disabled over here for Epic. He loses all of his Marines.
Yeah, that...
Oh boy, these are dead too.
Yeah, they are. That was not so good. Obviously, as we see all the tanks die, even maybe the medevac can start it down. Yes, it does. That was just simply not good. But there was a bit of just, he saw the tanks on siege. He tried to go for it. It ended up being a very bad idea, especially because the Raven was involved as well. And now, though he has combat shields, like 10, 15 seconds ahead of his opponent, can't use it.
Yeah. A little unfortunate there, too, because Epic did have, I think, a 2 or 3 siege tank lead at first. So if he'd have been able to snipe out those siege tanks, even 1 or 2 of them, and get away scot-free, then, hey, that would have been a huge victory for Epic. But now Semper going to be maintaining a little bit of a lead in that regard. Both players have relatively even upgrades, and even the Marine counts, not super different. So that siege tank count can really make a difference.
Oh, yeah. Awkward scuffle. Semper would win that one, for sure.
Yeah, just a little bit better clumped up with those units, and also just a few more Marines.
Yeah, a few more, yeah. Scans, I guess maybe I was thinking the army had been split. This is kind of an awkward scan, but so he goes for the drop to the main, but he makes sure to get way out of the way of the Marines scouting it. Almost well timed.
That medevac was a little weirdly timed, but hey, joins the fray, and now he has an extra medevac in case he loses one, but also that extra little bit of healing power. Main base that doesn't really have too much, no missile charts or anything been thrown down at this stage yet.
This is going to be a very good drop for Semper, I think. Epic's, in fact, moving out with some units, so his attention is going to be divided, and there's nothing immediately scouting the drop. So while it's scouted out as it unloads, it's fully unloading as he tries to move back home. So that's going to be 2 reactors down, probably, and
maybe
just
a
get
third.
out. Well, I think you just get out.
He's enough Marines. Okay, yeah, now he should load up and get out of there.
Because the distraction is there too. You pulled a lot of units from that third base. In fact, we saw Semper scan because he knew that was a potential, but sees the tanks were left there, so it's not like there's a really big opening.
Yeah, still a lot of Marines going to be joining the fray from those medevacs on the drop, so he can continue to push forward. Raven has more energy available. He can disable 3 more of these siege tanks if he wants to and just dive on this.
That is a very good point. He could do that.
There's one.
Oh, okay, he's just going to use it to move forward.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's a more methodical way of doing it. I like it.
Yeah, kind of in line what you were talking about with Semper, though. He's also getting a 4th base on location, so faster than Epic, I suppose, technically. Very even upgrades, but continuing to leapfrog his tanks forward with the help of the interference matrix. There we go.
Okay, but here we go. Now Epic coming in for a massive concave on this army. And Semper seems a little late to react with a lot of his Marines.
I don't think those were hotkeyed with the main army.
Whoa.
That was awkward, but he still would have been pushed back regardless. He still also has supply. Oh, no! That could be game if he can get on top of the tanks, and which he is.
He does.
So I think that is game-ending move. Epic could try and turtle up with whatever tanks he has left, but that is a huge deficit.
I mean, at this point, we have 6 Marines and 1 tank. The reason why Epic has any supply in army is medevacs. It's just 7 medevac zombie growth.
Yeah. Barely saves the 3rd CC, and with that 1 lone tank about to be heard up with the 2nd one, it looks like he will hold on for a little while. And TvT is certainly all about comebacks, so you get 1 good Doom drop into Semper's main base, sure, but that should be a game-ending move. 60 supply, 50 supply lead, that's too good, TvT.
I mean, God, Semper is such a tough cookie in this matchup. I feel like he's just so methodical with a lot of his maneuvers. And
oh, well.
Man, okay, well, this is another way to just kind of leverage that army, because he knows he has another army of contestable power on the north side also. So he says, okay, you cannot deal with both of these attacks. I can take on your army with either one of these. And there we go. Takes out a lot of these Marines that are still being unloaded from the medevacs, and Semper's won this game, guys.
Epic maybe in disbelief how he did that. It wasn't like he was in the lead and he just threw, but it still feels kind of silly to walk your units into the army.
That, of course, but I think that Semper was already ahead even before that. Yeah, he was up around 20 or so supply. He had a really good attack. God, it's just, again, like, I think that this matchup caters so well, or at least the way that the matchup is playing out right now, caters really well to that kind of methodical, positional base play that Semper really likes, and also just a very macro base play.
I'm not going to disagree with that. Yeah, I'm not. Like, if you're going to play a very aggressive, like, we're all thinking about Maru.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Both Maru and Masa, I guess, the other Maru.
Well, they're both known as Maru.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Then sure, like if you're that good, yes. But you know, more often we see like a hero marine type, like just do very well in TvT. They don't get tilted by it. Well, everyone gets tilted by it a little, but and they wait for that one moment, and he certainly was able to do that multiple times. Really, he was methodical, as you said. And then maybe Epic was tilted. Maybe that's why he made that mistake. Maybe that's why he was, so not eager to get out of that game. But
yeah.
Time to just, wash your hands of it. It's just the preliminary match, is what we would call this.
Yeah, I mean, it's still an important match, of course, but if you lose this, you're not out of challenger just yet. There's still the opportunity to face off versus Estrella in the lower bracket match.
Yep.
as Masa did end up besting him. But Estrella is also still a pretty tough cookie. Like
Yeah, I would.
that series versus Masa was weird. But the funny thing is, Estrella also has, and I've seen him playing like versus a lot of people on the ladder, like not him streaming, but a lot of other NA players streaming. Estrella has some funky, aggressive builds out there. I think he's not someone you really want to face in a best of 3, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't get easier if you go into losers, but at least it's another chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think most people would expect Semper and Moss to get out of this group, but there's always room for upsets. In the bottom right, he'll need to bring it back to at least an even score. It is the Red Terran, Epic.
And his opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have our blue Terran player sitting up 1-0. He is Semper. Rise Esports. And I think this is a pretty big, I mean, like the next year, I would say, is just really important for Semper because fact is, he is actually getting pretty close to graduation. And again, I mentioned this before, but Semper is one of those people. He has a law degree coming up, and it's pretty dang hard to be a lawyer and also a professional StarCraft 2 player at like the top level of your entire continent. So
you would also say that it's hard to be a law student and a very good StarCraft 2 player. Yet he did that.
That is, you know, that's a fair point. I don't know if, I think he's talked a little bit about the idea that he is likely going to retire once he graduates.
Yeah,
which is going to be it's going to be a little bit of a sad loss for the North American scene, but that is coming up. So this next year, I think in terms of results and the importance of him being able to kind of finally hit those heights that he always wanted to, I think is really big deal for him.
Yeah, of course. It's always, as you said, it'd be a loss for the scene because there is a future where he does commit full time and makes it to the top 4 of Challenger and then the top 16 of the WCS main stops and then so on and so forth. But he's been kind of consistently around a similar level. I mean, certainly he thinks he's improved and the whole level of StarCraft has improved, but that's it makes sense now that you finish with your super long law degree.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to use it, maybe. But Epic is kind of the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Super young.
Very young guy, I would say like a lot of what you see from Epic is actually, there's like a lot of talent there. And I mean, we saw a little bit of him facing off versus Neeb and actually giving him a pretty gosh darn good run for his money in that series. But Epic, I really do think is one of those players that if he really concentrates and puts a lot of time into StarCraft, and he's actually been doing that lately, he's been more and more focused on it. I think he can go really, really far. And we've seen him rise up in the scene a lot more again. But whenever there's a fall off for Epic, it's usually because he just sort of lost interest for a bit. And he kind of goes off. He's focused on school or just other things in life. And it happens. But
Yeah.
that's sort of, I feel like, the career tale of Epic. And I'm sure he would love to change that as well.
Sure, yeah. It's kind of like unfortunate because we compare these guys, especially in the NA where we do have more often, I think, like part-time. Or like mostly.
There's like 4 NA full-time players.
Yeah, exactly. That when we compare them to their counterparts like Neeb, you know, and just like, well, why doesn't he also play 16 hours in all 3 regions after school? And you're just like, well, I don't know, just because he's human, I don't know. But anyways, that has bought us enough time to look into the nitty-gritty of the 2 base builds we have here. I think they both scouted for like potential 2 racks, but obviously it didn't happen.
Yep.
We do have Semper going for a reactor factory though, so this is the one case where you really wouldn't expect to see a starport. Like in that last game, that was a bit of a tell perhaps of what Epic was doing. If you see a reactor, you just know they're gonna go for probably a lot of cyclones. And if they do that, you're probably gonna wanna get a bunker, especially if you're not gonna go for your own, decent amount of cyclones. So it's actually a little scary.
Oh. Starport was chasing the Reaper for a moment.
Yeah, it was. But Epic doesn't really know about that factory thing I was just talking about. He did not get up to see the factories on a reactor, and he's kind of like moving on to the next stage of TvT, and it's not gonna be a big deal apparently because Semper isn't moving out with his 3 cyclones, and there's the high ground issue. If this was Catalyst, I think it's a different problem. It's a bigger problem. But there might have been a chance to trade out if Semper had moved out.
Okay, well, the game is just going to transition out to a more normal situation. Nice that Semper was also able to secure himself 2 kills with that Reaper. Definitely not too shabby. We do end up having first engineering bay being added on over here for both of these players. So they're both looking to get those upgrades in a nice kind of steady, brisk pace.
Really, even though their openers were quite different and the starport looked like it might have done something with the tech lab, it's not doing anything.
Yeah, I think after he saw that everything was scattered, he's like, maybe he'll react to this anyways a little bit, and then I can just not do it.
Yeah. There's also always that hope with some of these, you don't really know what your opponent's doing. In this case, they really don't. No Banshee to scout, and Medevac to even harass and scout. There's kind of sometimes that hope that they are going for a third CC and that you are getting the faster stim and 3-rack production. Almost always in TvT you see an eventual third CC, but there's that timing that can be made. But instead they're both going for very similar builds in that regard. The scan reveals that for Semper, maybe Epic will send a scan down himself. Yeah,
there it is.
Exactly.
You scan me, I scan you. Starport a little bit later there for Semper. He's going to transition over to that reactor, and he'll get started with his own medevacs in a moment's time. There it is. Can you imagine if buildings took damage when they collided?
Makes sense, but...
So you're in favor of it?
I mean, it's like Sin City,
Terran
but
bias
in the air.
confirmed. Yeah.
Is there any upside to this? Do we get, if they do that, can they burn down and kill things?
They can run into other Terran buildings in the air.
That
Your
doesn't help me.
opponents.
That doesn't help me. Like, we'll have one barracks at the end of a base trade, and we're like, oh, you're going down with me.
You're coming down. I have 2 barracks, and you only have 1.
This is definitely worth sniping that Raven if Epic wasn't paying attention, but Semper not quite to his medevacs. They are just here.
Okay. Epic can have a hard time busting up that wall. Even with the siege tank over here, a little bit faster than Semper's, is getting focus fire down. There's no SCVs or anything that's going to be here to repair, but the Cyclones maybe overstaying their welcome. Raven gets an anti-armor missile down. Oh man, Epic turning everything on its head in a moment.
Well, that turned out very different than what I thought. Semper had the faster stim, he was going to have the faster combat shields, and he almost pounced on the army as he should have. Instead, as you said, it just turned on its head. And now Epic is in a very good position.
Oh man, and now the workers are starting to fall even more, but somehow Semper still does have almost even working outs. If he can bounce back from this, if he can clean this up somewhat cost efficiently, he can still be okay. Epic is getting up a third behind all this though.
Yeah, and he didn't cancel his own third. Semper lost that. So if he breaks this with a very convincing fashion, he could counter.
Okay, here we go. He's gonna try and unload the siege tank. He's trying to move these Marines forward. He's been able to take care of a majority of this army for Epic, but that's not enough. Epic ties up the series 1-1.
That was fast. That just suddenly was
decisive.
Like, yeah.
Decisive.
That is a very good word, because avoiding the whole just like, well, Semper misplayed that. Epic played that very well.
Yeah.
Like there's another situation where he's like, well, Semper isn't foolish enough to actually make this opening, right? And he pulls back. He's cautious. He's thankful he gets what he has.
I mean, quite frankly, I saw Semper poaching forward with those Marines to go snipe off that tank. I'm like, yeah, this is a great snag. This is like a really good win. But then that sort of turns on its head, and then suddenly everything else started, like the siege tank survives and starts getting some shots off, and now there's not that many Marines left over. And then as Semper is trying to pull forward with his tank and siege up, an anti-armor missile hits his army. It's like, whoa, okay, everything just spiraled.
I think every StarCraft 2 player, I won't even say just Terran players, has that moment where they're like, well, I know how to deal with this. Oh, wait, I kind of messed up, but that's okay. I'll do this thing. Oh, no, that wasn't enough. Oh, shoot. Oh, I'm just dead.
Yeah, you just kind of hope that those games aren't going to be in the middle of WCS Challenger.
Yeah, of course. I think Semper would kind of look at that just like, and just like shake his head like and laugh. Like that was just a little silly. He should have gotten the tank, I think. I don't know about the Raven. The Raven was being controlled correctly. Yeah. But he should have gotten the tank, and then he should have pulled back faster. And well, yeah. And had everything collected, and then if he had to, maybe he pulls the SCVs to break it, because it is a decent position. Yeah. It was already good that Epic got that far along the map, but Semper probably shouldn't have just died like that.
I mean, to be honest though, like I do like those kinds of attacks coming out from Epic, because I do think that Semper, he's really strong in the kind of the later stages of the game. And this is true across all the matchups. I think he's still got a pretty good like early and mid game. But I do think that if you're going to try and take Semper down, like the golden rule's always been try and do it in the earlier stages of the game rather than the later ones.
Yeah. That makes sense. And Epic, he did try that kind of in the first game, right, with the proxy starport on one base.
That's actually true.
It just didn't do very much, and it's never, with that type of build, it's not really about killing your opponent as much as it is like, oh, I'm going to get pretty far ahead, hopefully. Where that game, when he committed, when he was, decided to do it, he did just have a game-winning move, obviously.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop into game number 3, the decider match, or decider game, I should say, for our second match of the day for North America. Let's do it. 16-bit, gonna be the map. All right. Well, we are going to be spawning up here into the top right-hand corner of the map, top of the red Terran player. He is Epic from Storm Gaming.
In the bottom left, as the blue Terran, he is Semper.
Okay. Any thoughts about 16-bit as like a TvT map? I don't actually see it that often for TvTs.
Do you see that many TvTs? How much
No, I don't, because
Europe Challenger do
you know, I mean, really, I was talking with the WCS commissioner, and said, you know, NA, it's got a lot of Zergs and stuff, but there's actually quite a few Terrans that qualify. He's like, yeah, you know, we need to get rid of them. NA has a reputation as a Zerg-based place also.
It does?
Yeah, I would say so.
No.
These days, okay, well, actually, no. There's been a pretty big upswing of Terran players, but I would say NA is also pretty Zerg-focused.
In my mind, it used to be, back in the day, that Protosses were a thing, right?
It used to be, but here's the thing.
Hold on, let me finish.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Europe is Zerg, and then Korea is Terran. But you know what NA became?
Zerg?
Nothing.
No, it became Zerg.
No, I feel like it didn't really become Zerg. I mean, you could convince me. Now you can make your argument as we watch. Factory coming down for Epic, and Semper is going to go for a 1-rack expand.
Yeah.
Convince me how, like, what Zergs? Why am I not thinking of NA as a Zerg region?
Scarlet, Jon Snow,
Sure.
Silky, No Regret. Talk about Antis. Talking about I think there's a fair number of the better players. So
Obviously.
the way that NA works is that there's a okay mix at the very top, and then after that, it's just like Zerg. Right after like the top of NA is just Zerg for miles down, and there's like 1 or 2 Protoss and Terran mixed in.
All right, I mean, I can believe that.
And the reason why I think it used to not be the case is you used to have a few more players, like, you used to have a few more Protoss, like Peely, Bales used to be around.
Right,
You
yeah.
used to have like a few other Terran
Straya
players,
was
like
playing.
yeah, Straya was playing a little bit more frequently. Drunken Boy was around. Poke Bunny was more active. Like, you used to have these other players mixed in. It's not the case anymore.
I mean, I feel like this is that situation where, yeah, you know more about NA than probably anyone else, even like NA players maybe, but I feel like this is actually where maybe it's like, you know too much, you're too deep.
Maybe.
I don't think Twitch chat's like, well,
To be fair, I actually have a list that I maintain of every NA player.
Yeah, I bet you do. Anyways, the point is, nowadays, you're talking about, it's kind of the point was, like, a lot more Terrans are rising up. So that's nice to see, even as some do end up retiring.
Okay, well,
later for Semper.
did have a 1 Reaper and 2 Marine opening over here for Semper, and this can get a little bit more dicey, but you should have the Cyclone out, and that should push things back.
You thought it was important, and I was like, this isn't going to do anything.
I thought for a moment, because, okay, the thing is, I've seen sometimes where the Marines are slightly separated from the Reaper,
You're not wrong.
and then the 2 Reapers just kill both the Marines, and you're like, oh, actually, this is kind of a problem.
You're not wrong, but it is different because it's 16-bit. So if that was a natural he was defending, that is a very real problem. But as long as he just kept his units together on the high grounds, that's much easier. So speaking of 16-bit, there are some really nasty like nooks and crannies to get your tanks. Especially if your opponent is not the type of person to have a lot of harassment, and as such, not a lot of scouting. Yeah, they both went for the scans to see, like, okay, you're going bio, okay, your 30C is a little bit delayed, but actually this Reaper's gonna get a perfect scout. So my point was I was gonna talk about how there's a couple of tricky, fast tank pushes that just get worse as time goes on if they are able to settle near someone's production. And that's like one of the reasons you'd see such a fast tank like this. But Semper seeing it, if Epic tries to do it, he just meets it like in the middle of the map or close to it and demolishes it. And that Reaper scouts, an amazing scout, and lives.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not very often you see a 4.5-minute Reaper scout that still survives and kills a worker, by the way. Killed a single SCV. But here we go. Seachank loaded up with 4 Marines and also gonna be able to join the fray with the Cyclone, the Hellions, or the Hellion, and the 2 Reapers on the other side of the map. This is a very odd push.
It's nice, though, that Epic has this task force still alive, because a lot of times the Reapers are sacked to the SCV line, the Hellion dies in a silly fashion. to even continue pressuring like this. But I know Semper knows what to do here. I know he's afraid of what is coming and how it's coming, but it's actually going to the natural.
Whoa!
Maybe he wasn't expecting it, but just not a lot of units.
Siege is gonna be. I really don't feel like it's very. Yeah, and oh, wow, that's actually gonna shut things down really hard.
Yeah.
Medevac does almost to get taken out. The siege tank does go down. The Medevac very low on hit points. 5 workers going down. Was that enough to justify the cost?
Nah, and the second Medevac coming in is probably just gonna be a further waste, I think. But it's gonna try and kill a reactor.
He's got to get out of there.
Yeah, get out. Get out! And he will live, which is important, because that tank would have been a very costly investment to lose your first tank and then your second. But even though that was more about what Epic was trying to do, just because it didn't work doesn't mean he's super far behind. It's not like Semper had Stim already on the way, and that was the problem. But he is going to commit really hard to 2 bases. 4 barracks being slapped down at the same time.
Epic is, that is very interesting. He also tries to poke back in over there, but sees the Cyclones are still in that natural. Semper, despite taking some worker losses, only 2 workers behind, and he scans, he sees all those additional barracks being added on.
That's a very good scan. This is the difference of, like, if those 2 barracks were, the other 2 barracks, like the 4th and 5th barracks were hidden somewhere else, then that's a scan that's very similar to the Dreamcatcher game.
I mean, how do you react to something like that? Do you just throw down your own barracks, or?
You're just cautious. I mean, like, you already have your 3rd CC on the way, so it's not like you don't cancel that barracks, right? Like, you just go along with your build, but you just know that they're gonna have perhaps a little more pressure to do some damage. Medevac actually goes for a command center on location, which is something you can definitely get away with on 16-bit. And even though Semper might temporarily be like, oh, well, is he going to be, like, how aggressive he's going to be, his own 3rd CC should be put down on location because it is an easier one to take.
Okay, Reactor finally going to be added on over here for the starport of Semper, so you can start getting out some more of those Medevacs. I think he does not have any just yet, just went for the early Viking, and of course that Raven that was helpful quite a bit earlier on. Cyclone at the front door finally gets taken out, so Semper has cleared the way for his own 3rd base, and we have Epic loading out for 1 Medevac drop, and Hellion running along the north side of the map.
You know, to be honest, I feel like Semper would play the same game about what he scouted. Obviously, it was like a 1-base build, that's different. But you know, a little bit cautious, spreads his units out for the drops. As you know, is attempting to get those on Naga control, which is very important, but also has a couple missile turrets already finishing up to help stack defense. And you know, very calmly, cautiously takes his 3rd CC. The tank's already sieged up. You know, it's safe play. And while he doesn't know that Epic is going for that 3rd command center, as I was talking about in an earlier game today, like, there's almost always a 3rd CC, it just is a matter of when.
All right, scan came down, by the way, from Epic, so he saw that there was, in fact, that established 3rd base. He knows that it's going to be there, and now we end up seeing Epic starting to move forward. Scan comes down from Semper. He sees that the army is coming forward, so he's already prepared, so.
Well, the thing is that he doesn't know if there's going to be like a doom drop, you know, multi-pronged attack, and the fact that it's all coming towards the front is very important to note, because he probably had like a tank or 2 tanks somewhere else that wasn't very helpful. I love this. Like, over-defending that base on 16-bit is just always worth it, it feels.
Okay, but here is that very abusable spot that you were talking about. And Epic kind of poised forward, made it look like he was thinking about going there, but after the scan comes down, he says, okay, not really worth trying to go for that if my opponent knows I'm going for it. Remember that Semper also still has that Raven, something that Epic very notably does not have. There are going to be the 4 Medevacs loaded up.
It's 2 sensor towers, man, I don't know.
Interference Matrix could still be really strong here.
He's gonna go for it. It is revealed almost instantly, but with the boost over there.
Oh boy.
Very quickly. 1 Medevac almost full goes down immediately. It's not a great start. These Medevacs are going to die.
All the Medevacs are going to die. There's no escape here, and this just did not do enough damage. Semper cleans house.
I don't think Epic scouted the natural to see how many missile turrets there were.
Yeah, I would check vision right now, but it's a little too late.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm pretty sure he didn't, because that is a no-go zone. Because even if you do fully unload, the lack of medevacs still, and the fact that it's 16-bit, like the army really isn't that far away, you assume it'll be in like a kind of a timely manner. I don't know. Obviously it didn't go so well, so you know, proof fact that didn't work, and Epic just retreats.
Yeah, it's kind of a little unfortunate too, because there weren't actually that many units besides siege tanks at the front, so maybe if he double timed it, he could have actually been able to do a nice little split.
What if he like revealed it on the sensor tower, but then actually like double backed and like went on?
What if he just had empty medevacs on the sensor tower, but then he just moved in with the rest of his army with no medevacs?
That's the 4D chest right there.
Okay. Now you guys know what to do. TvTs, go. And then you're, of course,
just waste all your medevacs.
Of course, you're gonna be in like Platinum League. Your opponent's not gonna notice the medevacs.
If you're in Platinum League, your opponent has like 12 missile turrets, and you're just like, this really isn't gonna work in like 12 tanks because they're going mech. It's easier.
Yeah.
Mech players. This is like very similar to like last game that
guess who
Semper
does
won.
not have the missile turrets or even the sensor tower completed?
Doesn't. But like Semper didn't realize that was the case, so he's doing that very cautious thing. He could have gone for the Doom Drop.
Oh man,
it worked.
He could have even sieged up his siege tanks a little bit closer to the production.
He could have. Epic is going to respond, but that is a lack of mining on his natural. And as I was saying, this is like that first game of Semper 1, where as soon as Epic made a pretty crucial mistake, Semper immediately piles on the pressure and takes control of the game.
Yeah, that's kind of happening again. Even some SCVs coming very close to those Marines. And guess what? Epic is trying to move all the way around over to his third. I think he's going to try and cut this off, but he also tries to move forward with the drops. That is just not happening.
Yep, even a tank, just in case there's not enough Marines. This is...
Okay, the tanks are here for Epic, so he's going to be able to eventually clean this up now.
It's certainly a test. Actually, Semper wasn't paying attention for a second there.
Yeah, loses the majority of those Marines over on the front. He doesn't actually have too many Marines backing this up either.
Nah, if Epic did come around with all of his army, he'd probably kill all of it.
Well, I mean, he sees a good chunk of it now, and he is going to be coming around with that army. Oh, man, Semper. Okay, well, losing a medevac full of units is not ideal.
That was an odd start. Like, this is going to work out really well, though, with a concave, I think.
Semper's coming in from behind, though. Depending on the timing of this, Epic is going to be able to pounce on this right before Semper actually gets there. Ooh!
Oh, those Marines choked up so badly in that one little mineral patch, but they do finally get the concave they're looking for, and they do tackle those tanks.
Semper has his own Marines coming forward now, though. The anti-armor missile is not quite expired. He might be able to take advantage of this for a split second, but he just doesn't have enough Marines to really contest it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was a moment of Marines getting a lot of damage done.
So, something we didn't really know, but Semper had only just finished +1 armor when that attack happens, and that's more important because his +2 armor is really far behind. He just kind of forgot about it and had later 2-2 to begin with.
Oh, that's going to be a little bit painful in these Marine versus Marine skirmishes, especially considering that Epic is still moving across the map. And yes, 2-2 is finishing up, but it's going to be finishing up for Epic. Semper are going to be down 2 full set of upgrades.
Yeah, for actually with him being in position, it looks like it'll be fine. Tanks are still pretty much the name of the game, and it's 7 to 8 tanks. You're not really going to be able to fully pass that just because you have a better upgrade or two. Fourth base is set up though for Semper, still building for Epic. And Semper even has a hit squad that's looking to try and take that out when it lands.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got sieging up over here for Semper. He sees everything, but of course Epic has that zone like a watchtower. Definitely sees everything going on. And he's actually going to have a slightly better position here now because of it.
Semper, you don't usually get the third sensor tower like he does, but he's going to know everything.
This is a Venn diagram, and this is how I win.
Yeah, the little middle is like, this is where if your tanks were, you would be winning.
This is the only way that you win, is if you're in this little center over here where all the Venn diagrams intersect.
Exactly. They're well on their way to, like, you know, double tank production. They're both trying to get to that 3-3. Semper did not get, you know, a loss because he was late to his 2-2, and it still might affect the game. If they cannot push past each other exactly, then you're going to need to go into the starports, and Semper is the first one to do that. That makes sense. He is the more methodical, cautious, faster expanding player.
Oh, though one of the siege tanks gets picked off. Semper getting a nice little snag there, and at the same time shutting down a potential fourth base, but there's no medevacs here. These Marines are going to be taken care of very quickly.
That wasn't the hit squad I thought I was going to do it, but...
The other hit squad is over here, but this is on Lego Watchtower with no medevacs still.
Yeah, it's really lazy.
But just keep an eye on that Zunlinga Watchtower.
They really want the Zunlinga Watchtower.
It's a very important one.
I legitimately think is why he has so many there.
You know, this Zunlinga Watchtower, speaking of which, is actually really valuable because he's been able to see a lot of the army movement here. Yeah. Snags another one of these siege tanks. These Marines are going to be dealing with a bit of a rough spot. I don't really like these engagements for Semper.
Yeah, I mean, that was into a concave equal upgrade, so it didn't seem like it was going to go so high. But Epic did, I think, just barely see the Viking count when he kind of like maneuvered up to the high ground. So he should know that that's the next stage for Semper. That doesn't mean Epic has to go into that same stage, but if he hopes to break a Terran opponent, no matter who it is, that's usually where you gotta go to. You can just try and continue to remax on like what are cheaper units and even get better concaves. You saw that in the last NA group a week ago, I think. Yeah. So that could happen. Hey,
the lazy group of Marines does find a command center being built.
That's not a lazy one. That's the one that got the.
Oh yeah, sorry. The lazy group
Yeah.
installed the Stunning Watch. That's the
proper
active
here.
Yeah. Okay, we might be teasing at an engagement, and Semper, he's really itching for one right now with those stims forward, but he's got a couple of Liberators. He can really poke and prod if Epic ever tries to get a little too aggressive. The funny thing is Epic being so aggressive has kept Semper pushed back, so Semper hasn't been able to get too aggressive either.
Well, he really needs to do that, because if he ever is pinned back into even his 4th base or 5th base, that is the start of a trend where Semper has the better positional units. But this is exactly what Semper didn't want to have happen unless he had tanks prepared, which he does.
Super
This is really good for Semper, who's also pushing with his very positional army, just getting deep into the heart of Epic's main base even. Oh, this is great. The tanks, I mean, they'll kill production, but they really can't advance forward for Epic.
Yeah, he has to go through a bunch of siege checks, and as Semper, on the other hand, is just cleaning house. He's going to be able to get on top of production after he takes out this base. I think right now, yeah, Epic is just loading up those siege checks. He's retreating home. There's even some Vikings actually chasing after those, but now Semper sieging up the production of Epic.
Yeah, he still has that Raven. Like, that's always able to cast the interference just to break the main ramp, which is what Epic is just desperately trying to stop from happening. He can hold on to his production, and maybe there's still some hope, but it's not looking very good.
Oh, the Liberator's finding just pure siege tanks down there. There's nothing actually to defend them.
No, it's not. This is looking like it's dead for Epic.
Yeah, this is a rough spot to come back.
It was exactly what Semper wanted to have happen, though. That was like, this is a really well-played game, and it's not over, so I'm not going to start talking about, you know, how wonderfully Semper played.
But someone is 70 supply up, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of these players has double the workers and nearly 40, 50 supply up, and it's actually going to be more than just double the workers soon.
Wow, Semper even has advanced ballistics now. Just Liberator.
Yeah, he got the fusion
really reach here.
Oh man, these Vikings have also been taking care of every single one of the medevacs that's been popping out. He finally has a couple of medevacs left over, but GG, Semper is going to move on to that winner's match after a very methodical and thorough TvT.
That was not exactly like a masterclass on TvT. I don't want to give Semper that much credit, but that was exactly what you wanted to have happen as the type of player that he was playing as. Like, you wanted to have the guy who's not going into the starports, not looking to just kind of methodically advance forward, win the Viking or get the Ravens. Like, if they don't want to do that, they're probably going to try and circumvent you, base trade you, get better positional engagements, and Semper just get his tanks at home, and it's like he read Epic's mind. It was perfect.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does mean that we have our both lower bracket match and our winner bracket match established at this point. We know that it is going to be Estrella facing off versus Epic in that lower bracket match, and Masa is going to be facing off versus Semper. And a reward for them being the winners is that we have photos of just them.
Yeah.
Nobody else.
That's the reward.
Because they're the important ones now. They're the ones that won. That's their victory.
Exactly.
But okay, ladies and gentlemen, our next match, Estrella versus Epic. It's going to be a pretty epic match, if I do say so myself. We'll see you guys in a bit.